What up though, keto peeps? It's your girl Day here with yet another keto friendly recipe. Today it is cauliflower, broccoli, and cheese casserole. So this is the kind of thing that I make when I really don't know what it is that I want to eat, but I know I need to get in some vegetables and I know I want to get in some fat. I can get plenty of fat with my cheese, my heavy cream, so on. So basically it's going to be cauliflower and broccoli with some beef summer sausage and cheese and a bunch of other things to add in some fat. So let's get into it. So to start, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of saute the cauliflower, broccoli, and sausage just to kind of soften them up and start them in the cooking process, and then they'll finish actually in the oven because again it's going to be a casserole and it's going to get baked. So first I'm going to go ahead and begin the saute. So to start my saute, I'm gonna cut off about a tablespoon of my normal Kerrygold grass-fed butter, which I typically like to use for just about everything. I'm gonna put my fire on about medium-high so that butter starts to melt very quickly. I like to use a combination of butter and extra virgin olive oil, and basically I do that because the olive oil will keep the butter from browning too quickly and the butter will keep the olive oil from smoking too quickly. And because it adds fat. So I'll let that melt around in there pretty good. So first I'm going to add in the cauliflower because I want it to soften pretty good. So we'll let that simmer a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and add the broccoli in. I'm gonna let the broccoli and the cauliflower cook just a minute or two so that they kind of start to just take some of the crunch out of them. Now that that's pretty well mixed and everything is coated in oil, I'm gonna add my salt and fresh cracked black pepper. I'm not going to use too much salt because I'm also adding summer sausage, and summer sausage is pretty well seasoned already, and you don't want to have the dish end up being too salty. And we'll let that just kind of simmer for a couple moments. Again, just trying to take a little bit of the crunch out of the vegetables before we add in the summer sausage. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in my summer sausage. The summer sausage will add a little bit more fat too, which I like. So that's my oven right now, letting me know that it's preheated. I've got it preheated to 400 degrees, so that's the temperature we'll be baking my whole thing at. But I let that go for a few. Now, while the vegetables and sausage cook down a little further, I'm going to go ahead and start our bechamel. Now, generally a bechamel is made with flour along with butter and milk and cheese and things like that. In this instance, because I want it to be keto friendly, instead of using flour, I'm going to be using mascarpone cheese. It tastes so good and it adds a nice healthy fat to it without you having to use flour or even a flour substitute. Like I don't even add in almond flour or coconut flour, just the mascarpone, some butter, and heavy cream. So I'll show you that in a second. My vegetables and sausage are pretty much done, and how I know that is because my broccoli is going to look a little bit brighter green than it was originally, and my cauliflower is going to look less white than it was originally. So now my cauliflower should be looking a little more like beige-ish instead of bright white like that. So I know that my cauliflower and my broccoli are ready for me to continue on with the rest of the recipe. So I'm going to literally just set this aside now. And on to the bechamel. So to make this particular bechamel, and again we're trying to make it keto friendly, so we're cutting out the carbs by not using any flour, and instead we're just going to go with a mascarpone cheese. So I'm going to put my heat on just about medium, maybe a little less than medium, and then I'm going to add to that. Now, how am I feeling today on the butter front? Let's do about a tablespoon and a half. Just might only do 2 tablespoons. So let's not jump over that. And I have some onions that I've already diced, and so I'm going to add the onions in. And on top of that, I'm going to go ahead now and add in the mascarpone cheese. So that's already beginning to sizzle, so I want to get that cheese in there fairly quickly before my butter starts to burn or anything. This is an 8-ounce tub. I'm going to use about half of it. And I'm now just kind of mixing the mascarpone up with the butter and the onions. And you'll see I'm kind of mashing it because it is thick and it's in like a big clump, and I want it to loosen up. Okay. So now what I have here, I'm just kind of stirring it down. It's like a mascarpone, onion, creamy, buttery gooiness that smells quite freaking amazing. So now that I've got it to liquefy some, I'm going to go ahead and add in my heavy cream. I'm going to give it maybe about half a cup of heavy cream. I'm going to grab my whisk. Whisking that all together. I'm going to reduce my heat just a little bit. You don't want this to cook too fast. And that mascarpone, it actually makes your cream and butter mixture kind of rise just like flour would when you normally make a bechamel sauce. So that's pretty cool. So now I want to go ahead and start seasoning this. And I'm just going to basically add in some sea salt, some fresh cracked black pepper. I love these two together. And then something that I don't use for really anything else at this moment, but it is ranch seasoning mix. It adds this little kick of flavor that I love. So I'm gonna pour this whole little packet in here and then whisk this all together some more. It adds such a nice flavor. Even if you're not a ranch eater, you will like this in your little casserole, I promise. So I got my base going pretty good. It's nice and hot. And I hadn't prepared for this meal, so I didn't purchase like any particular cheese that I wanted to use. So I just kind of grabbed everything that was in my fridge, which was a Mexican 4 cheese, a mozzarella Parmesan, and then a mild cheddar. So I don't even know how much this is. But who cares? It's cheese. Like, I mean, however much I add, I'm probably just going to want more anyway. So, oops, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm supposed to take this off the heat first. So I'm taking that off the heat, add in some of my cheese. And then I'm just going to kind of whisk it together and get that to mix. I'm going to add that to the heat for just a second. So now I've got a really thick, creamy cheese sauce. Yeah, so that's my cheese sauce now. And I think we could go more cheese because right now it's cheesy, but it's still a lot of the mascarpone and the heavy cream. So I'm thinking we should add some more cheddar. Now we've got a really nice thick cheese sauce. Like, this is like almost solid cheese. It's taking everything in me not to lick this whisk because I'm on camera and that would be rude. But I love cheese. So I do want this to loosen up a little bit, enough for me to be able to pour it over my vegetables. So I'm just gonna add a little more of the heavy cream. If you're feeling like, oh, that's a lot of heavy cream, that's a lot of fat, be my guest, add a little bit of water, but do not add milk. Okay, because you don't want to add milk because there's too many carbs in the milk. There's too much sugar in the milk. And especially don't think you're getting around something by adding skim milk. You don't want that. So that's our onions and cream and cheese and butter. Yeah, that's good. Now, final step, we just want to combine the whole thing into a dish to bake. So I also have about half of an orange bell pepper. I love the taste of bell pepper, and I love when you don't pre-cook it so it still has like a little bit of a crunch in your meal. And so I'm adding that in too. I'm gonna just stir this all up a little bit before I add in our sauce mix. And now the cheese. My favorite part. Yes. Yes. No, really, I took my finger and swiped across the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix it in and try and get the cheese sauce all throughout the dish. Make sure that there is cheese sauce in every area, and every piece of broccoli, every piece of cauliflower is covered in the gooey, gooey deliciousness of the fromage. I'm just going to sprinkle a little cheese on top and put it in the oven. So we are all set now to bake this. The oven has already been preheated at 400 degrees. I'm gonna let it bake until it kind of browns a little bit on top, and just at least until the cheese on top is melted. Again, everything in here is already cooked with the exception of the orange bell pepper, and that's perfectly fine. We're gonna want that to have just a little bit of a bite to it. So our casserole is done, and it's kind of started to brown a little bit on the top. You got some bubbling cheese, and you see that the oil from the butter and the cheese and the cream sitting on top. That's what I love. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig into it. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just dig on in. That's gonna be so good. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell so you can be notified next time I post up. Have a good one.